Okay, Kenny. It's been a while.
It has been a while.
Wow, man.
Cheers.
Yeah, cheers to the one of the best. No, one of the best. The best coffee I've had in my life.
So we were just drinking a coffee called Tigre
Okay.
from a producer in Panama called 90 Plus.
90 plus.
And they have a variety of coffees starting not inexpensive, but going up to, at this point, about $13,000 per kilo on coffee.
How do you? The question is, how do you procure something like that? Like, do you have to go into the rainforest? Take like 5 flights to go to Panama, and then talk to the middleman, and then if you look trustworthy enough to the middleman, they get you to the head man, and then you get your coffee.
Well, that was the way it happened up until the last couple of years. So coffee has always been like a commodity product.
Mm-hmm.
And, like from the colonial era where it was commodity shipped on those old style boats and everything. And as this third wave of coffee came up, where they wanted to be able to taste the origin, they wanted to know where it was from, they wanted to hear the story of the people who produced it. The top professionals in the coffee world would have access to some of these coffees, but nobody else would. It was really rare.
Yeah, that is like that. That's the advantage you got, like in every trade, man. Like same with sushi. Like in the really top high-end sushiya in Tokyo, for example. I think the difference in cooking is minimal when you're at that level, and it's more about your relationship with the fisherman and how you are able to get the best cut ever. It's a bit loud, huh?
Yeah, a bit loud.
No, that's number 1 actually.
Okay, number 2.
Number 2. I got
so
you. Okay. Good?
Access to these incredible ingredients in the culinary world is very much the same. And same with wine. Same with whiskey and all this stuff. But what happened with coffee was that there began to be an interest in the origin, much like there had been in the wine industry for years and years. Like everyone knew, the different areas of France produced a certain type of...
Yeah, right. The concept of terroir, as the French call it, is like where it's from. In France, in Burgundy, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
They have this system like planned out like about I would say about 200 years ago. It was already done. It was done by the normal people then, but 1,000 years ago is already done by the monks.
Yeah.
The monks had nothing to do, they were just praying, and then they had all this time like to do this trial and error. Like, okay, I planted this grape on this hill, and it was okay, and then I plant another plot of grape on like another plot, and it was like, wow, it was like way better, right?
That's right. And so much of that was just accidental because at that point they weren't that scientific about it.
No,
they were just going by feel.
Yeah.
And so what happened with this one variety of geisha, this coffee, it's called geisha. It's a variety. Suddenly it had appeared traditionally in Ethiopia and maybe some of the countries around Ethiopia, Yemen, but I think Ethiopia primarily, as far as I know. And somebody, I forget who exactly, they took it to other countries and planted it. And Panama, it just like, once geisha got to Panama, like something extraordinary happened because of the nature of the terroir there, with the Atlantic Ocean and the Pacific Ocean and the mountains,
breeze,
the volcano, the lush forest, incredible land. And at coffee competitions, some of these world-class baristas who had access to this coffee started to win every single championship just because this coffee was so dramatically different than the the traditional coffees. And now what's happening is because geisha was able to get a good price on the market compared to other coffees, that people are planting it everywhere, even in Thailand. In like I know they have it in Nan and Chiang Mai. They're planting this.
Okay.
But it takes years for it to develop, mature,
Right.
But now you can just go online. You can go on Shopee or Lazada and find like 10 different kinds of geisha here in Thailand. But 2 years ago, you couldn't find anything. Like very hard to find. So this is a fourth wave of coffee now.
Okay, this is the fourth coming, the coming of the coffee Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
This is, because I've read some history on coffee. I actually did a little bit of homework. It's like, okay, I know it originated from Ethiopia, and then it went to Yemen, and then in Yemen they had this town called Mocha.
Yep.
And that's where like they sell coffee to all over the world, right?
Yeah.
And but that's about as much as I know. And then
so
now geisha.
Coffee traveled the world via these traders, right? Back, 1600s, 1700s, 1800s. That's how it wound up in Indonesia. The Dutch brought it to Indonesia.
Exactly, yeah.
Right, and it made all these movements, like a Turkish coffee and all these. It just spread out. Africa, Kenya, all these different places. Colombia, Brazil, Honduras. I mean, all over the place now. And each particular country has its own characteristic. And the best coffees from each country are usually these really incredible experiences. So the Tigre, which we just drank, is such an exotic, erotic coffee. It is. At first, your brain's telling you, I'm drinking coffee, it doesn't taste like coffee. What's going on here? And then you start to adapt to it, and then your glass you're on to the last sip, and you're like, oh shit, man, am I ever going to taste this again or what?
Oh man, I need more already. It's not really like party in my mouth. It's more of like a discovery of like some new flavors in my mouth, because party would be something else, but this is something more surreal, I think, like a little bit more conservative in its field.
So I guess it's a little bit savory, right? So it's kind of like it makes me enjoy it the same way I enjoy like what do they call, like comfort food. Right? It gives me that like, this is like comfort food, like grandma's cooking or something. And the one that you're drinking now,
it's so good,
is called Canberra.
Canberra,
which is a traditional kind of Panama geisha. It's really delicious and it's more reasonably priced.
It's like when I go to coffee shops, right? And then they say, okay, this brew tastes like hazelnut, chocolate and all that stuff, but you never actually taste them because the coffee is like is not as good. And this one you can really like start to imagine, okay, I'm smelling this, I'm tasting like something. It's very complex.
I gotta say, the coffee industry has more fakes, more fucking bullshit people than like probably even more than like the fashion industry. And right. And what I mean by that is, like, there's a very low cost of entry to do coffee. You just get some beans and you're in.
Promote the fuck out of it.
I'm like you. Like, it must have happened to me 100 times where somebody gave me this whole song and dance. This coffee, it's got rose and it tastes like watermelon, and then you're going to taste lemon. And I'm like, man.
I'm not getting shit.
No.
Yeah.
So that's like false advertising.
False advertising. It's a lot like wine too, like with the natural wine movement.
Yeah.
It's like the labels are like cute and it's aimed towards like the younger crowd, and like sometimes it doesn't really even taste good, But some of the good ones, the ones that don't fuck about, the ones that they're doing it for real.
So
they serve something. There's something good, something amazing.
Yeah, I mean that's why. If coffee interests you, or if wine interests you, if great food interests you, it really pays to put a little bit into it, so that when you've learned enough and you can differentiate between like what is just like fluff, and what's like somebody put some hard work into producing something from their heart that's really, really good. Once you have a little bit of knowledge, you can you know it's
Really?
good. Yeah.
Yeah, but the palate you have to really it's a palate is something that it's like you always have to stimulate it.
Yeah.
You have to train it.
Yes, that's
and
true.
You always, it's like a muscle that you
Yeah.
always have to use, you know, just so you can.
And then it's just subjective too. So, like, if somebody really believes their coffee is amazing and they love it, man, I'm like, it's great. You found something you love.
Mhm.
It could actually suck in reality, but I mean, it's so subjective. Like, who's to say?
Yeah.
You know, it's like music, right?
Very much so. But having said that, the geisha like is like on top of the world, right?
Yeah,
The
geisha's
coffee
amazing.
world right now.
And now there's also some other varieties that are just beginning to come around.
Okay, it's got some cool names as well.
Yeah, I can't even pronounce them.
Like the Destroyer, like
There's a
know.
bunch of stuff, and a lot of these coffee varieties were engineered by scientists to avoid certain kinds of
like faults.
yeah, like rust. There's this like fungus that kills coffee. It's called rust or something.
Okay.
And so a lot of these plants were genetically engineered to combine with other varieties to grow better in various environments. And some of those became like, you know, those were like discoveries that.
Is this recent? Like
no, it
this
started-
new strain against rust?
I think it started like in the 50s, and
Okay.
it's gotten very evolved now.
Right.
Right. So there's been people engineering strains of coffee for quite a while.
It's like it's fascinating like
Yeah.
that I draw like so many similarities between coffee and wine, because wine back in like World War II times there was this bug called phylloxera or something that
Yeah.
killed all the grapes, all the vines, like
Yeah,
they would
yeah.
be dead. And then this one smart guy, he just took like a grafting from American species of grape and then just planted in Europe, and it was problem solved. You know, and it's like, yeah, man, it's
The funny thing about coffee is nobody considered that coffee would be a connoisseur thing, you know, like
yeah,
it was something. It was brown water in your cup. It woke you up.
Yeah, it's
and you didn't have that much expectations from it. And then suddenly it just like exploded with people experimenting and like roasting the coffee very lightly, growing it at better, higher altitudes, and fermenting it, similar to the way wine is fermented. And this just
Yeah.
created like, coffee is not what we thought it was way back when.
yeah, way back it was just like you just gotta get caffeinated up and then I'm good to go. You know, you go somewhere, people give you another cup of coffee, you're like, no, I'm already caffeinated up, I'm good. Like, yeah, it's fine. But this I can just keep going and going and going, you know, until I just finish my stash of geisha.
Yeah. Well, you have to. We have to get you a stash of geisha to begin with. So when you're drinking that, the first taste you had, what did you feel?
It's light, you know, it's more
Yeah.
delicate. You don't like when you have like typical coffee, it's very heavy on the palate. This one is like, it's light, it's like dancing around, you know, the it's like feather. And then you start to get like all these notes on the finish, which is fascinating. Like I just got this herb, which is like, I'm not sure what herb it is, but it's the kind of herb that is used in cooking.
Yeah.
Very exotic herbs as well.
Yeah.
Not like parsley or thyme or rosemary.
Yeah.
It's something else, man.
Yeah. I couldn't figure out what it was. I thought I was tasting like some sort of like tree bark or something, or some
Yeah.
kind of Chinese medicine. Or
Yeah,
something.
yeah. I think there's one curry called ไอ้แกงคั่วหอยขม which
Yeah.
I think they use a tree bark. Like
Yeah.
literally, they throw a tree bark into the curry.
And as my brain began to make sense of it, all these other flavors came up. All this sweetnesses, this like molasses combined with some fruit and all this really strange stuff. I mean,
Man, it's great, man.
yeah, it's challenging.
Yeah, then you have coffee kombucha as well. Ooh. It's like double fermented coffee kombucha. This is really good. All right, we're done. Let's have some another swig of whiskey. All right. Okay, this is also the good stuff. Wow. Coffee and whiskey. Oh my god.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna.
Yeah.
I think I'm just.
So what is this exactly? Where's it from?
It's from Scotland. Single malt whiskey bottled from Hawkshead, distilled 18 November 1992. That's like a year like after I was born. Cask strength, natural color, one of only 170 bottles. So it's also really like rare and really limited bottling. It's so good. Like I don't know when I get to the point like where I start sipping on like straight whiskey. You don't get there, you know. You start with like Coca-Cola. You start with, well, you know, soda. Like the Thais, we love to have whiskey with sodas. But, but for me, I think to have it straight and neat is it's like the best way to do it. You know.
Yeah.
You know, you gotta go.
It's funny that the tea gray coffee that we just had and this has some flavors really in common.
Yeah,
that's incredible.
Really,
right?
it's like there's like synergy, right? And I just had the coffee. Imagine you have two glasses, just a glass of whiskey, a glass of coffee, and you go back and forth.
Yeah.
It's like, wow. Have you had whiskey with chocolate?
Yeah, it's really great. I do love that.
You love that?
Yeah.
I have some chocolate. Like some chocolate? Yeah, let's have some chocolate.
Okay, stop the pot. Well, while Mike's away, we can quickly gossip him. Mention that if you haven't been to his restaurant, it's highly recommended.
Yeah, here you go, Kenny.
Thank you, brother.
Have a slice.
Okay, so here we go. We've just had 2 cups of coffee, and now moving forward.
Go to the chocolate.
Well, definitely don't need dinner now.
That's like dessert, man.
Yeah, that's like wicked good.
Yeah, that's too good, right?
Yeah.
It's too good. Yeah, man. How's that? That's like next level flavors. It's just like...
So I think we could make like a cocktail, mix the geisha with the whiskey and chocolate.
100%. Like I think
that would be amazing.
Yeah, I'm sure some genius like already on it.
Yeah, coffee and spirits.
Yeah, coffee and spirits for sure. Man.
I can hear myself chew in the microphone. It's pretty strange.
Oh man, what an experience.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
Yeah, to share it with you as well, man. Like Paz, she doesn't get this.
Give her time. Yeah, chewing in the mic. It makes it even that much louder and better.
Yeah, it's like, damn, it's like watching a TV show, you know?
Yeah, I mean, this should be a TV show. You just sit around and watch people like drink all this stuff.
Yeah, drink all the good stuff. It's like Anthony Bourdain back in the days.
Yeah.
He would go places, meet these new people, have their food, and it'll be like, he will have like the best like narrative for it. He has like he's wrote books, right? So obviously he's very articulate in his thoughts. Like he know the exact word to use to describe things. Like he's just like an out of this world talent, you know. So
I think if you're like a foodie, like he's probably on the top of your list of people you wish you had a chance to have a meal with.
Yeah, like,
because
you know,
the thing I heard him say on a lot of his shows was the thing he hates more than anything else is soulless food.
Soulless food.
Yeah, he's like, he's like, I don't care what it is. If somebody puts their heart into it and uses passion on it, he'll appreciate it. But when somebody puts something in front of him that's just like completely soulless, it's like to him that was like the lowest form of
food.
Yeah.
Bourdain, man, he man, God rest his soul, man. He's just one of the greatest characters ever in the culinary world. Yeah, my heart sank like when I heard he committed suicide and all that stuff. But like, it's real, man. People get depressed, you know. Like even Bourdain, like he's the last person you think is gonna get depression, you know, just because of how much of he sees the world in such a way that you wouldn't think he's gonna get depressed.
That kind of clinical depression, you know, that can eat anyone. It's not a question of your willpower or anything. It's just literally when anyone who's ever felt any real kind of depression like that, you realize there's can be a point where you just can't get out of it anymore. Like people reach that point and you know, it's very serious.
It's very serious. It's like it's like a terrible sickness, man. Just eats you up. And you know, Dr. Jordan Peterson, I don't know if you know him, but like he is like a self-help guru, more or less, you know, like psychology and all that stuff. And like his wife got cancer, and so he got depressed, so he got on a drug, and then his wife recovers, and he cannot get off the drug, man. He is like stuck. He was stuck for like 2 years on the drug, trying to wean out the drug. He had to go to Russia, like all these different clinics and meet all the doctors, and man, it's scary. It's scary shit, man.
With addiction, your mind has like a barrier, and up until that point, you might have fun, you might be able to enjoy using different kinds of drugs or alcohol or things, but you can smack that barrier, and at some certain point that barrier goes down, and you're no longer using those chemicals the way you had previously. Something changed, and the way you react to them, and a lot of good people met their demise.
Yeah, all the famous people. Like, you know, I don't know. I have friends who do drugs, and I am not judging, and like it's just, I don't know. I think it's just it varies from person to person. The tolerances, because I have friends who smoke up and they could function totally well.
Yeah. Not me. I can't do none of that.
No, man. No.
I'm like,
I would love to share a joint with you right now, but I'm just gonna.
I'm completely non-functional user of any kind.
Yeah, like alcohol that's it. Alcohol and cigarettes, man. Like right now, that's all I've got. You know, sadly, like, you know, because yeah, man, get me some LSD, man.
Yep. Not gonna happen now.
I think it's too late. Like for me, it's too late, man. No. Just alcohol and coffee and chocolate, and
yeah, those were the days.
Oh yeah,
because when I grew up, I was a child of the '60s. You know, I was born in 1961.
Yeah, you were born in the acid days, man.
So in my household, like, I grew up listening to, like, before I even knew what it was, listening to like Led Zeppelin and Jimi Hendrix and all this stuff. And at the time, like, I didn't know what it was until like in my teens when I rediscovered it again. But man, I was aware of like Woodstock happening, and I remember like everyone in my household like getting in a car and driving to see the Woodstock concert. And at that time, like, drugs and alcohol were something, you know, it seemed like nobody knew the repercussions yet at that time, right? It just all they saw was the upside. They didn't experience the downside. You come to the 70s, and it was all downside from that, right?
Okay.
Yeah, people realized, like, you know, there were a lot of people got permanently damaged.
Right.
From, like, you know, using LSD like 100 nights in a row. Following the Grateful Dead around.
Yeah, your brain is like cooked, man.
Cooked
to the core.
Cooked.
Oh my god! But to
Yeah.
live in those era, it must have been just fascinating. The acid,
Yeah.
the ecstasy, and oh my god!
Yeah,
you
I remember,
you survived. You survived, Kenny.
Yeah. So I guess I was about 6 or 7 years old, and I was listening to the LP of Woodstock, the concert, and I think it was like six-sided album or something. Like there's 3 LPs,
Okay.
and side 6 was Jimi Hendrix, and I would just listen to that over and over again. There's like one song, the last song that they did before they ended was just like a super peaceful
Solo, like a solo.
Yeah, it's this really peaceful thing, and like I don't know why at like 6 years old I thought like I just couldn't stop listening to that.
Dude, if you appreciate Hendrix like when you're 6 years old, man, like it's just like you're next level, bro. At 6 years old, I was listening to like Boyzone, like boy bands, Backstreet Boys, Westlife.
Well, you came out okay, man.
Yeah,
You survived.
That was the pop band era,
It
can't
was a
blame
tough
me.
childhood, but you survived.
Yeah, you can't blame me, dude. Like, man, it was all over the place. Oh, Hendrix, though.
Yeah, man, that was some real stuff.
He overdosed, didn't he?
So they say. Some people say
It's murder?
CIA.
CIA.
Yeah, some people say there's Jim Morrison, Janis Joplin, Jimi Hendrix,
They were talking to the Russians.
Brian Jones.
Were they talking to the Russians and the
Well,
Cubans?
At that time, those people were so popular amongst young people that the government thought that they were, really, really dangerous.
Right.
And certain people, I don't believe it myself, but some people believe that the government was really scared that these people were, polluting the minds of the youth.
The youth. Everything's about the youth. But like, holy shit! Like, it's not. That's some heavy ass conspiracy theory, right there.
Yeah, that is.
With the U.S. government, it's like. It's always it's always a conspiracy surrounding
Yeah.
the government. It's not
Yeah.
like Thailand. Okay, 2-person disappears like against the government. Okay,
Yeah, we know what it is.
Something happened. Okay, we know. But with the U.S. government, it's always like, it's always on the fence. You don't
Yeah.
really know what happened. Maybe they were like just so neat about how they do things.
Yeah.
People are still talking about the World Trade Center being like, the Tower 6 or Tower 7, government blew it up and all that shit happened.
Yeah, I'm not a conspiracy theorist at all.
Yeah, it's
Like,
just a
but-
rabbit hole,
But some people really go down that road. And I have to say, I read a lot of books, and I've read a lot of books of, alternative history, like people who rewrite history, like, as a, artistically, creatively, not to say it's real. They're not trying to say like this is real, but like
Okay.
it's like alternative history. It's like a sort of a subdivision of sci-fi, you could say.
Okay.
And it's really interesting. There's a book by Stephen King about the John F. Kennedy murder, where he goes back in time. Somehow he gets back in time and he tries to change the murder, and he's never able to do it. He keeps trying all these ways to find a way to subvert the guy who was supposed to have killed him.
What's his name? Oswald something,
Yeah,
right?
Lou Harvey Oswald.
Something Oswald. Like
Yeah.
they say he couldn't have possibly like.
Yeah, that one, I'll buy the conspiracy theory on that one.
Yeah, because Kennedy was like he was funded by the mob.
Yeah.
Like that's all you need to
Yeah.
know, Like I watched the movie Irishman and I'm like, okay, man, Kennedy is like he was funded by the mob, and then I think it went along the lines of like he didn't want to do what the mob wanted him to do, and then that was that.
Yeah.
Was the
That's
end.
one I definitely think for people who in Thailand who aren't aware, John F. Kennedy was a president of the United States. He was doing a motorcade tour of Dallas, Texas, and he was murdered at gunpoint in the back of his limousine next to his wife.
Yeah.
It's this horrendous scene caught on film with his bullet going into his skull and blowing his head apart onto his wife, and everything that happened after that was just this unreal. There was like so much evidence, but none of it was provable. It was incredible.
The CIA, the FBI.
Yeah.
It
there
was just
there
a
was
huge
a lot of funny business on that.
It was like a huge cover up, man. The great cover up, you know. I think it was 2 shots. I think the first shot hit him in the chest, and then his wife was just like, "What's going on?" And then the second shot like blew his brains out, dude. Like just
and that's another thing. Like, you know, I was really young when that happened. I don't think I remembered that one, but his brother also got murdered. Bobby Kennedy.
Robert, right?
Yeah, Robert Kennedy. And that I remember watching our black and white TV, right? We had black and white TV at that time, and watching the whole funeral procession. And that was like, you know, as a kid, that was kind of like a moment where it's like, wow, something big is happening here.
Yeah, right? Anything can happen. Like anything can happen. Like if you can, I don't know, man. Just it's unthinkable. Like someone shooting Trump or shooting Joe Biden, right? In this day and age, it's tough to imagine like the president, the protests going down,
and the people who deserve to be murdered never get murdered.
That's life is not fair.
Yeah, so my advice is don't get murdered.
Don't piss people off.
Don't get murdered. Yep.
Piss people off. Yeah. All right, Kenny, we're good, huh?
Yeah, I think so.
Cheers.
Covered some strange ground on that one.
Yeah, hey, dude, it was a nice podcast, bro. We did 30 minutes. Yeah. It's like amazing. Good catching up with you, man.
Likewise.
All right. See you, everybody.
Okay, take care.
Thanks for listening.